For the last 4+ years, my real estate photography business has done well over $50,000 per month. And on this video, I want to show you if you're currently stuck between $10,000 and $20,000 per month, how to get to this $50,000 or more mark. And if you're just starting out as a real estate photographer, you can still stick around and watch this video because it will help you not get stuck where many of the $10,000 to $20,000 per month real estate photography businesses get stuck. So the first thing I want to talk about is the goal itself, which I've set at $50,000. Now, you need to pick a goal that means something to you or that is important to you, because what I see a lot of people do wrong when they grow their business is they have no idea what the goal is, so they have no idea what they're solving for, or they can't do any math on that goal because they don't know what the goal is. So the first thing you need to do is pick your goal. I've just set this at $50,000 per month. Now, the second thing we need to do is break down the math on how to make this goal possible as a real estate photo business owner. And so that's what we're gonna do. And then once we have that math broken down, I'm gonna go through the 4 lies that I see people get stuck on that are basically objections to whether this is possible, how to overcome them so that you can take your real estate media business from 10 to 20K a month to $50,000 or more per month. So the first thing we need to do is break down how many shoots $50,000 per month is. Now, I did the math ahead of time. I cheated a little bit. This is not off the top of my head, but it would be 200 shoots at a $250 average order value. And so that's how many shoots in a month you have to do at this average order value to have a revenue of $50,000 in a month in your photo business. But that number still doesn't mean, I can't look at that number and go, this is what you need. So we're gonna break that down a step further. I'm gonna divide this 200 number by the amount of business days in an average month, which is 22 business days. And that gives us, again, not off the top of my head, a number of, it's like 9.09 shoots per day. So shoots a day. It's too many slashes, but either way, we need to do 9 shoots a day. So now I kind of know what that business would look like. I know that at 9 shoots a day average, I probably need somewhere between 3 and 4 photographers for that business. Now that depends. You could probably get away with 3 if you had higher average order value, or maybe even 2 if you had higher average order value. Maybe if you're not quite consistently doing 9, you're gonna need, it just depends on your photographers, right? Some are part-time, some are more full-time, but somewhere between 3 and 4 photographers per month is what you're gonna need. Now, in order to have the client base to do 9 shoots a day or 3 or 4 photographers, you're going to have to be able to spend time to grow your business. So one of the things where a lot of people get stuck in that 10 to 20K range is they are shooting everything and doing everything themselves. And the way that you get out of that and the way that you have the clients to grow the business to this level is you have to start outsourcing some of that stuff, because what you're gonna do is basically take your fully booked schedule and that money you're making, and you're gonna trade some of that money for more time back so that you can then take that time you have back and work on growing your business, whether that's doing the Instagram method, brokerage deals, brokerage presentations, running ads, doing cold calls, whatever it is that you decide to do to grow your business. The thing and the reason you're stuck right here, let's say at 15K a month, is because you can't do any more yourself, because you just don't have the time. And so if we're able to use some of that money you've built, some of that money you have coming every month to hire help for your business, then we can then use that extra time you have back on the tasks that are actually gonna grow your business. So the first step is clearing up time so you can actually focus on growth. And this is where the 4 lies come in that keep people at this stage. And the first lie is people that think their market isn't big enough or that there's too much competition for them to grow their business. Now there's like, these 4 lies kind of can go together, but I wanna just talk through some of the things that we constantly hear. So your market is not big enough or there's too much competition. What I want you to do to figure this out is figure out what your current market share is. Now this is something you're gonna have to do for your business, but here's how you do this. You're gonna find the total number of shoots, or the listings rather, because that's the total number of shoots, right? The total number of listings that go live or that went live in a month or in a year, however you want to do the math in your area. So there's a couple different ways to do this. If you know a real estate agent you have a good relationship with, you can ask them to get this data from their MLS system, or the MLS system that is for the area that you are in. So they can show you, hey, there was 1,500 houses, or that's probably a small one, there's 2,000 houses. So the first thing you need to do is find the amount of houses listed. Now, if you don't have a realtor that you can ask for this info, you can type in total number of listings, my area, and then you should be able to find somewhere where it gives you a monthly number. So you get that monthly number. Now, you're at 15K a month right now. We want to see how much of your market share that you have. And really, this is a metric you should track because it's cool to watch the growth. But this is more of something to help you understand that the market size is not the problem. And I know you may be thinking, hey, it's not the problem, or hey, it for sure is the problem. You just need to do the math on this. So 1,500 is the total amount of houses that are listed. Now you need to, in that same month, let's say you did it for April, you need to put on here how many you did. So what you're gonna do is find the number of shoots that you did. So you take this 1,500 number, and you can divide it either way, but I'll do it for the sake of this, I'll do it this way. So you would take the total number of shoots you did, let's call it 50 shoots, and you would divide that by 1,500. And that's gonna give you a percentage. And in this case, that number is 0.03, which is 3%. So your current market share is 3%, meaning out of every house that goes live, you shoot 3% of those. And so that kind of should give you a ballpark for how actually big your market is. And another cool thing you can do, just to see the market size in dollars, is you can take the number of listings, so 1,500, and you can multiply that by your average order value. And that's gonna tell you how much potential real estate photography revenue there was in your market. Now, you're obviously not gonna get 100% of it, right? Because you can never shoot every house that goes for sale. You do have competition. You do have real estate agents that they don't hire professionals, so you're not gonna get all of it. But it's kind of a cool exercise to reset your expectations and what you think of how big your actual market is. Now, just be careful to this 1,500, this total number of new listings in your area. You don't just wanna look up your city because there's probably a county around it or a parish around it or something that is, you wanna look up your whole service radius. So finding this number can take some time. That's why it's easier just to ask an agent if you know. But if you did the math on this, what that would say is that if you were able to capture 100% of your market share, you would have a $350,000 or $375,000 per month in revenue. Now, obviously, this number is just supposed to show you how small of a market or how large of a market you shoot for and how small of a portion of that market is yours. Because what I find is that people just believe that the market is smaller than they think, and so they don't start taking actions that can help them figure out how to get to this $50,000 a month. Remember, the first thing is setting the goal. The second thing is figuring out the math and solving for that goal, saying how are we gonna get to that $50,000 a month? So now that we know that, and now that we know that our market is well above the 50, even at $50,000 per month, we still don't have a big percentage of this market, and you'll be surprised when you do the math for yourself how big most markets are. Now, the second lie that people tell themselves is their clients are going to leave or not like it if they scale their business. And I totally understand this fear. I think that's what every business owner feels. You feel like you're really good at doing things, and so if you switch and you hire a photographer, your clients are gonna leave. And you may have had even some of them tell you that. Maybe they came to you in the first place because so-and-so hired a photographer that wasn't good and they just didn't wanna work with a big company. So those seeds get planted in your head of, oh, I have no option to scale. And that's where you have to be smart as a business owner. Really think about what it would look like to scale your business. And the first thing I would say is that you will lose a couple clients when you grow your business. But remember, if our goal is $50K a month, we don't care about losing clients. We care about getting to the $50,000 a month goal. And so maybe that is the cost. Maybe you do lose a client or two. But the other side of that, and what I'd encourage you to think about is, imagine if you were a real estate agent working with a photographer. So I'm Eli, the real estate agent. I work with John. And I love working with John. He's a great photographer. Well, if John hires somebody to shoot for him because he's scaling his business, even if I don't like that, what is my alternative? Well, my alternative, if I really want John and can't get John, it doesn't make sense to go to somebody completely different. Like if I can't get John, I want the next closest thing, which is the person that John hired. And so your job is to make sure that that employee is the closest thing to you, not your competition. If you hire an employee that's so bad that they leave your whole company to go to somewhere else, that's on you, and that's just another thing that we have to solve for. So our process, when we coach someone through this process in our forward coaching program, is we make sure that the photographer that you hire is the closest thing to you. And we do that by having you train them properly, having good systems, and overall making the experience of working with you as you scale your company even better than if it was just you by yourself. Because one of the things people often forget is that every position in the game of business has an advantage, right? So as a big photography company, like my company, Norman & Young, we can do a lot of shoots every day. We have more availability than you as a solo photographer. We have much faster response times because if you're a solo photographer and you're shooting, the agent's not gonna get a text back from you or a retouch request. And so what we do as we scaled is we leaned into the things that make us better as a scaled company. Right now, you're just not a scaled company, and so you're so used to selling the things that are better about not being scaled, the fact that they get you. There's all these strengths to not being scaled, but there are strengths to being scaled. And so as you grow your business, you have to lean and position yourself and talk about those things that are actually an asset when your company grows. The number one thing that agents care about is availability. So that's an easy thing to pitch. Hey, when it was just me, John, the photographer we talked about a second ago, John could only do 4 shoots a day, and so he was booked up 4 days. But now that John hired a photographer in his business, he has next day or maybe 2 day out availability. That's an asset to the client. That's something they will really like about your business. And so it's just about restructuring how you run your business and how you pitch your business to clients and the value you provide them. And you can totally do that when you hire somebody. I would argue that your business will get better when you hire a photographer and scale than it is just you. But right now, you're just telling yourself the lie that your clients aren't gonna like it if you scale, and that's just not true. Maybe a couple won't, but overall, you will build a better company. The third lie people tell themselves that keep them stuck at 15K a month average is nobody can do it like I do it. And you can rephrase this by saying, I'm the best in the world at my job. And when you rephrase it like that, a lot of people are like, I don't know if I'm the best in the world, and you kind of realize that you saying you're the only one that can do this is actually kind of a really prideful thing. It doesn't feel like pride when you talk about it or when you think it in your head. You're like really worried about not having a good job done for your clients, but that really is pride stopping your business from growing. And so what I would encourage you to do is, instead of saying, hey, nobody can do it like me, if that's the case, you have an awful complicated process that doesn't serve anybody, yourself included, and is probably really inefficient. And so what I would encourage you to do, and how we fix this for people in our coaching, is we look at all of the processes in their business and what they're doing. We help them simplify that, still get the same results, so that it is easier to train a new photographer how to do that. So that's the first step, is fixing all the systems and making sure it's efficient. The next step is putting in place a good training process to make it so they are better than you, or at least as good. Right? And the reason I use the word better is because you're not very good if you're distracted with client calls and all that stuff. Like a photographer who's just focused on the client and just focused at the task they're doing currently, the house they're shooting, is going to be better. And so our job is to say, okay, we need to make our processes as simple as possible so that other people can do it, because if nobody else can do it, you have a really silly process. And then once we do that, we need to find, hire, and train really good people to do that job. And I feel like that's really more where this lie comes in, is you just think that because you haven't seen that person and because you don't know who they are, that they don't exist. And so the lie you're really telling yourself is there is no one out there good enough to do it, but you probably haven't looked for someone good enough. And if you have, and maybe you had a bad experience, my guess is you didn't follow the process we recommend when we help our coaching clients hire, which is find a good group of people, a big group of people, do a certain interview process, starts with a group interview, then individual interviews, to really take a big group of candidates and narrow it down to that one person that's good. Most people that give this objection of like, oh, it's like no one can do what I did, I tried it, it didn't work, they rushed the hiring process, maybe even hired a referral from a real estate agent, which in my opinion is like the worst thing you can do. They didn't get a good candidate because they did a pretty lazy, like not well thought out hiring process, and then they scaled that. They were like, well, if that's the case every time, this isn't gonna work. And it's like, well, of course that didn't work. Like a bad employee or the wrong fit for the job or someone that isn't trained is never gonna work. But that doesn't mean the whole thing doesn't work. So it's kind of undoing those things you believe of like, oh, it's either I did it and it didn't work, or I've never done it and I don't think it would work. Both of those don't mean that it won't work. You can take it from me, and I've scaled my business, but maybe I just got lucky, right? And the reason I know that's not the case is because plenty of other people have done the same thing. It's just about being willing to take the steps and learn a new process. Just as there's a lot that goes into figuring out how to get clients, there's a lot that goes into figuring out how to hire properly and get the right people on your team. And the fourth lie that I hear all the time is it costs me money to hire somebody. I just like running a lean operation and making a lot of money. And that sounds pretty silly saying that after we've done the math, but what people are saying when they say this, and really why it's hard for them, is they currently make $15,000 a month, right? And they probably take home, if they're running a somewhat decent operation, they probably take home $12,000 a month. So when they say it costs them money, what they're saying is that in order to get to 50K a month, they have to spend 2K a month at the start on part-time help, and so they only make 10K a month for a month or two or whatever, how long it takes, and they say, wait a second, it's costing me money. But what I would argue is that every month you don't make this 50K, and at $50,000 a month, you're probably taking home, if you're doing it right, half, maybe 25K a month, somewhere in there. It just really depends on your specific business. And so what I would argue, by not hiring this $2,000 person that would allow you to start the process of growing your business, you are losing whatever you could be making minus what you're currently making. So that's $25,000 minus the $12,000 you're currently making. It's actually costing you $13,000 a month because of that mindset of I don't want to spend the $2,000, it's costing you a future $13,000 a month. And that's the biggest lesson of them all, is that the people who scale their businesses, take them to the next level, make the quote unquote real money, whatever that means to you, is they were usually willing to take a small short-term hit, not only in their time, but also in their profit, in order to achieve that longer term goal of that bigger income. And here's the thing that's true about this, you have to keep doing it at every stage. When you get to $50,000 per month, you have to go, hey, who are the people that I need to hire? Maybe I have to hire a commission-based salesperson. Maybe I have to hire someone to run my social media. Maybe I have to hire someone to go out and close brokerage, whatever it is, right? You have to say, okay, maybe when I'm making that $25,000 a month, I need to take a step back, and how aggressive you do this depends on your goals in the short term. Maybe a not very aggressive step back is hiring someone for 5K, making 20, and that 5K can then grow your business. Maybe they're a salesperson, right? Or maybe it's even going more aggressive and saying, hey, you know what? I'm really fine in the short term with $12,000 a month. So every dollar of profit above that, I'm going to reinvest into the business by hiring the right people to grow the business. The more aggressive you are, and you do it, if you do it right, the faster you grow. So it's a balance that you have to decide. But the biggest thing I would say is that most of the time, the things that prevent real estate photographers from scaling their business aren't actually real things. They're things they've told themselves in their head that they don't have any real proof on, or at least proof enough to make a decision. In the example of someone who's hired a photographer and it quote unquote didn't work, so they scaled down and never tried it again. So with that being said, make sure you figure out your goal and break it down, do the math, solve for that goal, and then figure out what objections your brain tells you, make sure those are justified, break them if they're not justified so you can work on scaling your business. And if you want us to hold your hand through this process and help you scale your business, we would love to work with you in our Forward coaching program. You can find the link below. You get to talk with my team. We'll show you exactly what that looks like and how we would help you in coaching. We'd love to see you there.